Are you a current or future physician assistant wanting to learn more about finances? Then join me on this journey to become a PA the FI way. Hi, my name is Kat, and I'm a practicing certified physician assistant who will be your host. It took me 5 years after I started practicing medicine as a PA to thoroughly dive into my personal finances after I discovered the concept of financial independence. I want to use what I have learned to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I have made while sharing some of the financial wins that I have had along the way. Join me as we discuss financial strategies to guide you to becoming a physician assistant on the way to financial independence. Hey there, and welcome back to the PA the FI Way podcast. I'm your host, Kat, and I am a PA on the way to financial independence. And this podcast and show teaches PAs as well as other healthcare professionals and clinicians how to reach financial independence while treating and preventing burnout along the way. Let's dive into the topic for today's episode. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the top 10 things to not spend your money on as a healthcare provider. You work way too hard for your money to waste it. Between charting after hours, missing dinners with your family, or games for your kiddos, and surviving call shifts, every dollar should buy you back freedom, not frustration. Most of us, myself absolutely included, have spent money on things that quietly drain our wallets, our energy, and our joy. Today, I'm going to talk about those 10 things to stop spending your precious hard-earned money on so you can start spending intentionally on things that bring you peace or purpose or financial freedom. Let's dive in. The first thing is definitely going to be a hot take. I already see angry clinicians commenting on this episode as well as the social media posts too, sharing about how they have had a really great experience with this and that it really isn't a scam. Unfortunately, I have lived it myself, so I will share my story here. But maybe some of you have guessed it that the first thing to not spend your money on is joining an MLM. MLM stands for multi-level marketing, and they are often marketed as opportunities where you can work from home, be your own boss, and make passive income. And I have never shared this on my podcast before, but I was actually part of an MLM back about a decade ago, which is crazy to think about. It was only a year or two into my PA career. And honestly, reflecting back, part of it was that I had a lot of free time. My husband was working lots of hours, but I was also going through grief from the loss of a family member. So I felt like I needed to take some of my time and energy and almost use it as a distraction. And what's a better distraction than trying to earn some extra income, especially when I was paying off over 6 figures of student loan debt. I had roughly $126,000 of student loan debt. And that was before all the interest over the years too, right? So I thought, what are some companies that I would like to join? And I found this company that was a jewelry company because I, especially back then, really enjoyed jewelry and thought that it was like fun accessories and things like that. And it was a company that was founded in my home state of Minnesota. So I thought it'd be really cool to join. And I ended up joining this MLM. And again, I have lived experience with this. So one of the main reasons why MLMs are not great to join is that 99% of participants actually lose money according to the FTC if you join an MLM. What kind of business experience is that where you are taking a risk that you are going to be in the 1% of a MLM member that actually earns you money? And then of that 1%, is it actually good, sustainable money? Probably not. Reflecting back, I actually did make some money with this business. So I guess you could say I was the top 1%. However, it was such limited amount of money that it was not worth it, not worth my time, not worth the headaches, not worth driving around, setting up parties, all of that, right? It's just absolutely not worth your time as a healthcare professional. Because if you think about what your hourly rate is as a clinician, even when you're not working overtime or nights and have shift differential. Think about the actual money, your hourly wage. In order to make that with all the time that goes into an MLM, super unlikely you're going to make decent money, right? Consumer Awareness Institute actually says that the median annual income is $0 for MLM members as well. Within the structures of MLMs, you will often find that most of the revenue actually comes from recruiting others, which is often why some people refer to as pyramid schemes, because you're recruiting more people under you, and that's how the pyramid grows. Not saying that all MLMs are set up that way. A lot of them are, truthfully, though. So with that, it really doesn't even have to do with how great you are of a salesperson or forming connections or forming community, but it's really about recruiting others to be part of your team, and part of your downline is the other term for that as well. And healthcare workers get pitched working for an MLM constantly. I am still pitched MLMs through social media DMs is the classic way. And part of that is that you're seen as a trusted voice. So think about that. Your patients and your community trust you. So you are a trusted professional that would do so well working for an MLM company, especially if they are wellness products or supplement products. And when you are burned out, that promise of flexible income can sound so appealing. But in the end, you usually end up actually being the customer, because you are buying the different products. And often, reflecting back again with my time working through this jewelry company, there are different seasonal promotions or seasonal products that you end up needing to purchase to show your customers what it looks like so they can hold it, feel it, touch it, try it on in person. And then they often expire or retire other products. So that leads you to constantly purchasing these products. It's not that you can purchase this product and it'll be present and be able to sell for many years to come. That's super rare. So you end up actually becoming the customer, not actually the business owner. Now, when could an MLM actually work well for you? Again, I'm not here to hate on all MLMs by any means. And it's definitely a individualized decision. But this is one of the top 10 ways to not spend your money. And I'm being honest, MLMs are not a great way to spend your money because you won't actually earn money as well. But when could an MLM actually make sense? Well, if you are a tried and true customer of the products, of the supplements, of whatever you like about the company, essential oils or things like that, if you are already a customer and you love the products, it's reasonable to become a member of the company because then you do get a discount, right? However, if that's the case, I encourage that you tell your upline, the person that you sign up underneath, that you are only there for the discount and you are not going to be building your team. You are not going to be actively trying to sell to others, okay? So maybe in that situation, this might work well for you. I would say that that's probably pretty rare, but it could be an option. So that's my personal experience of MLMs. I'm sure there will be plenty of other healthcare professionals that are going to comment about how they are just crushing it in their company. They are making several $1,000s a year. They are driving their car that is paid off for the company every year. They are going on their yearly trips. They're making this life look super shiny and super great for them. And again, maybe that's the case for them. But as a reminder, that part of these companies, less than 1%, truthfully. So have thorough discussions, know what you're getting yourself into, research the company, research as much as you can about this if you choose to spend your precious hard-earned money on these things. All right. And number 2 is another controversial one. So I'm just starting off with the controversial ones, getting people all frustrated right away. Let's go. So the second one is timeshares. Now, I have actually sat in on pitches for timeshares. Sometimes I was the one getting pitched to, and other times I was witnessing other people getting pitched. And reflecting back, I can think of 2 cases, one of each throughout my life. At the same time, definitely have been invited to sit on other timeshare pitches as well. And they are very enticing, especially if you travel or are at a nice resort or at an all-inclusive. Keep in mind, timeshares usually are never good investments. They are never a great way to spend your money. And that is because they advertise timeshares as the vacation that you'll take every year for life, but you're actually buying this lifetime contract and this never-ending bill. And one of the biggest things that I had against timeshares was that I never wanted to go to the same place every time. I never want to travel to the same country, the same city, the same resort throughout my whole life. I can't see being stuck in that. So they will often advertise and say, but we're part of this umbrella company, or I don't remember the term for it, this higher, broader company where you can go to many more places throughout the world. And it's really good to be able to do this for you or for your family, right? Besides buying into the timeshare, which is usually several $1,000s, you usually have annual maintenance fees, and often the fees can raise every single year. 95% of trying to sell timeshares, so reselling timeshares, 95% of them go for under 20% of their original price. So it's costing you money to even offload the timeshare. And the BBB logs thousands of complaints annually about the deceptive sales tactics and exit scams. Truthfully, whenever you're talking to these people who are trying to sell you on a timeshare, they are very good salespeople. They are asking questions all about you and where can you see yourself traveling in the future? And which of your family members would you invite? How many people would be coming with you? How many vacations would you love to take in a year? Maybe it's not only one, maybe it's 3 a year. And they try to paint this picture about why you really need this in your life. And working in healthcare, it's easy to think that a timeshare will actually force you to take your time off. But in reality, depending upon your role, it could just force you to pay for fees when your PTO actually gets denied from your job, right? So think about that. You don't know what your current role, you don't know what your future roles, if they're going to be super flexible about your PTO. And often with these timeshares too, you are very limited to certain weeks of the year to travel. Again, when I'm planning my travels or planning my vacations or my time off, I don't want to be limited. I don't want to be limited to the location, to the time, to the week of the year, to the length, to the season. I don't want limitations on this. So timeshares, truthfully, are one of the biggest scams out there. I highly encourage you to, at all costs, avoid timeshare presentations. They often will bribe you with either free meal, like a free breakfast buffet, or a free massage at a resort as well. And again, you can decide, is it worth your time and energy to actually sit through this presentation to get this free thing that they're offering? Or is it not even worth your time? You have better things to do. You have better things to go see and explore as well. Personally, I have never owned a timeshare, but I have been on the receiving end of timeshare pitches. And I do know family members that have owned timeshares. And again, the contracts, if you are ever considering one, make sure that you are really reading the contracts because they can be super, super, super limiting and super expensive to get out of and incredibly hard to get out of. And there are companies that try to resell timeshares for you. If you decide you actually don't want this anymore, trying to get out of that contract is super, super difficult. So I would encourage you not to spend your money on a timeshare, period, and avoid them at all costs. Instead, travel using travel hacking rewards credit cards. If you are interested in some of my favorites, absolutely happy to send you those links. Feel free to message me. And the other way you can travel for a reasonable way too could be things like combining a CME trip with another vacation where you're going to the same destination, have your CME conference, and then enjoying the destination. I've done that with a trip to Sedona in the past with my husband, and that was super, super fun, as well as Nashville area and visiting my husband's aunts who lived close to Nashville in the past as well. So there are ways to travel a little bit more freely and be able to be a little bit wiser about your finances. And the number 3 top way to not spend your money as a healthcare worker is to spend it on whole life insurance, otherwise known as infinite banking schemes. Sometimes they're advertised as infinite banking or become your own bank. And I've preached on this several episodes over the course of my podcast. So you've very likely heard my story already about how I fell into the whole life insurance trap as a brand new grad PA, and it was not wise. My husband and I at the time really only needed term life insurance, and we did not need expensive whole life insurance that was an investment for our future, quote unquote. So as a reminder, whole life insurance rarely ever makes sense for anyone. So it's expensive. You are paying the commissioned salesperson who sells it to you as their financial advisor. You're paying them money to sell this to you. They suck off all these fees and you are putting your hard-earned money into their pockets, and it's just not a good use of your money. Commissions can actually take up 80 to 90% of your first year premiums. And the returns before the fees are usually 2 to 4%. And many years, that's actually worse than inflation. So again, you're usually losing money on this versus actually investing and gaining the returns that you could get elsewhere in things like the stock market or real estate as well. And whole life insurance is one of the biggest scams that you are highly targeted as a PA or other healthcare professional because you have a nice paycheck, so you can afford it. And they guilt trip you into purchasing this so that you're caring for your family when you pass away. And again, it's not like you don't need life insurance. A lot of people do. And if that's the case, get very affordable term life insurance as well. And then invest the rest of the money elsewhere in your Roth IRA, HSA, 401k, etc. And now a word from our sponsor. Are you confident where your next dollar should go? 403b, 457, HSA, or Roth? The choices can feel overwhelming. Many providers aren't sure if their investments are optimized, if they're contributing enough, or if they're overpaying Uncle Sam. Meet Caleb Pepperday, a fee-only fiduciary financial planner and founder of Advanced Practice Planning LLC. Caleb joined me back on episode 162, and he helps PAs fast-track their path to work-optional living while keeping more of what they earn today. His process identifies the right strategies for your situation and gives you step-by-step guidance to put them into action. For our listeners, Caleb is offering a free one-on-one consultation to review your financial steps, check if you're on the right track, and help you determine whether you need a planner or can keep doing it yourself. Visit advancedpracticeplanning.com/FI to grab your free consultation. Slots are limited each week. If they're full, download his free guide, Everything You Need to Know to Retire Early as a PA, and Caleb will notify you when openings are available. Again, that's advancedpracticeplanning.com/FI to grab your free consultation. Advanced Practice Planning LLC is a registered investment advisor in Montana and Pennsylvania. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Advanced Practice Planning LLC and its representatives are properly registered or exempt from registration. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized advice or a guarantee that you will achieve a desired result. All topics discussed in this podcast are the opinion of the podcast host and not of Advanced Practice Planning LLC or its advisors. The next way to not spend your money as a healthcare provider, number 4, is health and wellness scams. So again, working in the healthcare industry, you are very likely targeted to being someone that could promote this health or wellness scam. Maybe this is an emblem, or maybe this is a different thing that they're wanting you to sell or implement at your practice. And that could be things like overpriced supplements, expensive devices that don't actually work very well, detoxes or fad diets, weight loss teas, different types of things that just don't have the evidence to actually work for your patient. And the trap is that they will advertise these things that they will fix your energy, your hormones, your gut health. You'll feel so rejuvenated. You will feel less inflamed. You will have better cognition. There are so many different types of wording that they use for this. And as a psychiatric PA, I am definitely more so on the holistic integrative side as a PA than a lot of other PAs that I know, because a lot of them will fall into the trap of 10 to 15-minute appointments. Here's your pill, goodbye and leave, right? I do not like that type of practicing medicine. I practice medicine where I give my patients the time that they need. And that varies patient to patient. Some patients have less time than others. Some have more time than others. I love that flexibility in my independent contractor role. It is so wonderful. But what that means is that I get to talk about lifestyle changes. I get to talk about nutritional psychiatry. I get to talk about lifestyle pillars and different supplements even, or nutrients that they might be missing to help them with their mental health and help them with their physical health. So I am absolutely not completely against supplements by any means. I will often talk about vitamins or supplements as a mental health support in addition to prescription mental health medications if appropriate. So I want to share that caveat with this section, absolutely. But with many supplements, they are not third-party tested. They don't have the ingredients that the label actually says that they have in them, or they have contaminants, or they don't actually do the thing that the label says they're supposed to do or help you with the symptoms that you're wanting help with as well. Up to 50% of supplement claims are not actually supported by clinical data. So out of the respect of your health as an individual, if you decide to implement some of these into your life, as well as your patients, it's really important that you do the work to look into the articles, understand the research, and figure out what is actually worth the time, energy, and money to spend compared to other things that are a waste of money. And often that can be individualized. For a lot of my patients too, if they want to try certain supplements that I am not super familiar with or I don't routinely recommend, I'll say it's reasonable for you to try it, but it might not work, right? And that even goes to diets. I had a patient that really wanted to try keto diet, the ketogenic diet for her mental health symptoms recently, and she's a nurse herself. And she thought that it would be really helpful for her depression. And what I shared with her is that ketogenic diet could help some when there's the underlying metabolic reasons for mood or depression issues, but I don't love how restrictive the keto diet is for a lot of people. And she was finding that it just was not helping with her symptoms and her cholesterol skyrocketed. So she decided it wasn't a good diet for her, right? So that's why all of this nutrient, supplement, vitamin advice can be individualized and needs to be individualized. And your patient or you as an individual who try these things, you need to assess and ask yourself, is this actually helping? And is this worth spending my hard-earned money on as well? So instead of looking into these supplements, longevity things, medical devices, different treatments for aesthetics or longevity, again, do the research to look through the research and figure out, is it something that's worth it or not? Stick to the foundations. Stick to sleep, movement, nutrition, eating whole foods, produce, protein, foods and beverages that have probiotics in them as well, getting good amount of fiber in with that produce and some grains, sunlight, and again, things like vitamin D, omega-3s, those vitamins or supplements that we know do have good evidence to support overall wellness as well. And the fifth top thing to not spend your money on as a healthcare professional would be status symbols. Things like designer scrubs or luxury handbags, the latest trend of the thing that you just have to have, right? And the trap is that you feel like you've earned it. You feel like you've worked hard, you need a splurge, you've earned it. Well, unfortunately, a lot of this spending is actually emotional spending. And you're trying to buy that dopamine, that feel-good neurotransmitter. And for a lot of people, you will feel and get that dopamine hit. But it's usually very short-lasting. For some, it's only a few minutes or a few hours. Others, it's a few weeks, maybe a few months. But that newness factor wears off quickly. So just be very mindful and intentional about that as well. Remember, experiences and memories, such as vacations or time with family, often that dopamine, those bursts of happiness or joy last way longer than what things will get you. The sixth thing to not spend your hard-earned money on is the McMansion or the giant house. And this is especially important as a new grad when you're a few years into your career, paying off your giant amount of student loan debt. That's even more important to be mindful about preventing lifestyle creep and delaying gratification over the years. Once you are more established in your career, you very likely will want to upgrade your house or maybe your apartment if you're a renter or a townhome or things like that too. So there's definitely a place for all of this and time for all of this, right? But as the years progress, Americans want more and more house. They want all this space and they think that they'll grow into it, that they need all this space for their kids. They need not only their kids to have separate bedrooms, but a separate play area for their kids too, and that's separate from the main living room. There are all of these needs or desires for people out there as well. So just think about being intentional with that, because the bigger the house, the bigger the bills, the bigger the taxes, the maintenance, the bigger the stress, the bigger amount of things you have to clean. Takes so much time and energy to clean your house as well. Unless you're at a place where you can use some of your hard-earned money to buy back some of your time by paying a household cleaner, that's very reasonable. But again, you're paying them more if it's a bigger house. So just be mindful about all of that overall. Remember, when you have a smaller mortgage or smaller rent, you have more of your funds to put towards your other goals in life too. The seventh top 10 thing to not spend your money on would be a luxury car. And again, especially early in your career. Now, once you are established in your career, once you have your savings built up for this car, maybe you've been thinking about this car for several years and you know the certain type of car that you want, it's reasonable to spend your money on a flashier, more luxurious car if that's what you choose to spend your money on. Again, who knows how long that dopamine hit will last for? It depends on you as an individual. But keep in mind, especially as a new grad, don't fall into the trap of, hey, you've been driving these beaters, you've been driving these older cars for years, and that you feel like you deserve something nice and that you need to be riding in comfort for your 15-minute commute. Is that really necessary, right? So again, this is one of them that I have fallen into the trap myself. I've talked about having a lease relatively early into my career. I believe it was about 3 years into my career as a PA, had a lease on this brand new car, had all these features that were barely used, and it was definitely not necessary. And the monthly payment was a lot. It was almost $700 per month while I was paying off my student loan debt. So it was not a wise decision on behalf of both myself and my husband, because he was very much a part of that decision as well. So just be mindful about where you're at financially, where you're at with your life. Do you need this car for what you think you'll use it for? Is your commute that long that you feel like you need to ride in style or feel this luxury on your way into the clinic? Make sure that it's reliable, but probably don't need a luxurious vehicle. And the eighth thing to not spend your money on would be convenience overload. Things like meal delivery services, Amazon, where you are paying premiums to get the things right now, like Prime memberships. If you don't use it, maybe you do use it all the time and Prime is worth it to you. But just think about all those additional things that you're paying extra for convenience. Many Americans will spend a couple to a few $100s per month on food delivery apps. And for example, DoorDash fees can often mark up meals by 30 to 50%. Again, convenience can be worth it for some people. Or occasionally, if you have this horrible day, completely burned out, completely fried, you need to feed yourself and family, maybe you go ahead and order a meal. But what I'm highlighting with this point is to not get into the habit of doing that consistently over and over and over again, and instead create systems of how you can prevent the need for all of this convenience. What are things that you can do to help instead? Is it meal prepping? Is it figuring out easy, simple meals to make, like crock pot meals or one sheet pan meals or things like that too? And again, going back to the dopamine hit, sometimes these purchases are more impulsive because it's like, you know what you're craving. What is it that I'm craving? I'm craving the certain beverage from this coffee shop or the certain meal from this place. And you want that instant relief right away. And you are paying for it with premiums. So again, Convenience is great, especially if you're buying back your time and keeping and maintaining your energy, but it should not be something that you're falling into this trap of and wondering at the end of the month where in the world my money went. If you reflect back on your month and say, okay, I recognize and I understand that I spent more of my money for that convenience, but hey, it was life-giving. Perhaps you're a brand new parent and you just do not have the time or bandwidth to cook consistently and you're needing more convenience in this time of your life. That's very reasonable. But again, week to week and month to month, be intentional about what does it look like to get out of that phase for you then, right? Don't just stay stuck in that phase because it's a habit for you. And as a healthcare professional, the ninth top way to not spend your money would be on expensive CME training or other training that you don't actually care about or that you don't actually need. Now, you very likely get a yearly budget, especially if you are a W-2 employee. If you are a 1099 independent contractor like myself, or you're a business owner, you very likely don't have a budget. You just have business expenses when you purchase CME or when you travel for training as well. But let's say you get a budget for your role. Often the budget doesn't quite cover the whole trip. Sometimes it does, but not always. Sometimes it will cover the conference fee, but then between hotel for a few to several nights and the flight, the cost can be blown out of the water and you have to pay for a fair amount of that trip yourself. Again, we need CMEs in our role. So if it is a conference that you're passionate about, that you are going to be learning a lot of information pertaining to you and your specialty, and or you're making lots of connections and you are enjoying the networking and that it's giving you life and giving you energy and not just draining you and not on something that you don't care about for your topic, save your money, save your time, save your energy, and just don't go. Figure out where to spend your money elsewhere instead. And you can think about, are there different CME conferences or topics that are actually giving you a way to build your future and make your future self happy? For example, burnout prevention or a conference on leadership, if that's part of your goal as well. And the 10th and last top thing not to spend your money on as a healthcare professional is unused subscriptions. The trap here is that many times you might think, oh, this is only $10 a month, or this is only $19.99 a month. I can afford it, right? But the average American actually spends over $200 per month on unused subscriptions. So every few months at least, if not more frequently, evaluate all of your subscriptions. Go through your credit card charges and take a look and ask yourself, am I actually using that or not? Personally, we have Hulu for our TV entertainment, I suppose you want to say. My husband and I, we've been watching a little bit more on YouTube lately, or sometimes I will watch just regular TV shows that are on network stations. But with Hulu in the past, we've had more expensive plans. So it's very reasonable for your subscriptions to fluctuate with what your time is, what your goals are as well. And even now with Hulu, I'm thinking there's only like 2 shows that I'm watching currently. So after the seasons, I might even end my subscription to Hulu altogether and have our entertainment be on YouTube or, again, other forms of entertainment. I do know many people that have multiple subscriptions for entertainment, especially. They have Hulu, they have Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, HBO. I'm trying to think if there's others. There's so many common ones out there, right? And most people don't only have 1 or 2, they have several of them. And it's like, they feel like they need this one for this show and this one for this show and this one for this show. And I'll admit, sometimes I have a little bit of FOMO with some of the shows. For example, I do want to watch The Pitt sometime because it looks like a really great show working in healthcare. But I don't have the platform that The Pitt is on. So sure, I have a little bit of FOMO sometimes, but if you think about where your time and energy and focus and attention go to anyway, it's already pulled in so many different directions. So do you really need all of those subscriptions for one purpose, for entertainment? And again, think about all your other subscriptions, right? Even assess, are you utilizing the gym that you want to utilize? Is it a really expensive gym and you're actually not going that often, and that a gym that's more affordable would be very reasonable for you to have a monthly membership fee for. That's technically a subscription, right? So think about all of those areas of your life and analyze it. Be intentional. Be mindful about where your money is going. Spend on the things and experiences that you want to spend your money on, not just mindlessly, not forgetting about these subscriptions, or not spending on things that you're not actually using. So there you have it, 10 of the biggest money traps that quietly drain your freedom and your energy by draining your bank account. And remember, it's never about spending money. It is absolutely very reasonable to spend your money, but it's always about making sure that every dollar is buying something that matters to you. Is it buying you time back? Is it buying you future freedom? Is it buying you your health or your peace or your wellness? But that it's not adding more clutter or stress or actual hours that you have to work later. Your challenge for this week is to take one small step to make a change this week. Cancel a subscription, skip a delivery order that you would normally do every single week, or say no to an opportunity that doesn't align with your values and doesn't actually bring you one step closer to your future goals. If you found this helpful, I encourage you to subscribe to the PA the FI Way podcast and or the PA the FI Way YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube so you don't miss next week's episode. I also encourage you to share this with a friend, family member, or colleague that would find this information helpful for their life as well. And remember that you can't buy your way out of burnout, but you can spend your way to buying back your future freedom. That's all I have for you for this week. Thanks so much for taking a listen, and I'll see you back here soon.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you decide to continue to join me along this journey of becoming a PA the FI Way. Please take a moment to press the subscribe button on the platform that you are listening to this on, but more importantly, consider sharing with another current or future PA that could benefit from the information that we reviewed in this episode. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Until next time.